Okay, so I'm just going to get to the point. I want to talk about this. This is Tesla's latest and greatest reveal. They've basically told us that they're going to create, for lack of a better term, I'm going to call it a future truck. It's called the Cybertruck. But I don't know if here's the thing. Look, I'm going to start from the beginning. The name, Cybertruck, Cyber, it to me is like almost an outdated term. It's like something back in the late '90s or early 2000s. It was a gimmicky term. Cyber. Everything was going to be like future cyber on the computer, in the spider webs, you know. So Cybertruck to begin with sounds like they're gearing their advertising towards people from that era. I get it, you know, whatever. When I was growing up as a 15-year-old or 16-year-old, I remember the future was very strange looking, and this truck matches that MO. It looks just like what I would expect a truck in the future to look like back in the 90s. So we're here today, and this is looking to be some sort of reality. The font's all kind of jumbled together, if you can barely read it. Either way, I am not a big fan of this design. I'm going to be honest with you. If you saw my SEMA fails and favorites video, if I saw this at SEMA, it would definitely be on my fails list. Not necessarily because of the technology, because the technology is actually okay, but because of the design. It just doesn't, I don't know, man. It just doesn't look, I don't know, it just doesn't look right. So, for design-wise, just looking at the truck, I'm not really into it. But, you know what? That's just me. So we'll get down to some of the details here. You can see, this is right off of Tesla's website. It's an exoskeleton design, so the frame is not, it's not a frame, it's an exoskeleton, which I do like that concept. I don't know if it fits the look, but, or if I should say, I don't know if the look fits that concept, but here we are. Exoskeleton. It's cold rolled steel. It's it kind of reminds me of the DeLorean, the old DeLorean, as far as, you know, color and composition and construction. It's kind of, I don't know, kind of looks like that. So has armored glass. If you guys didn't see the release or the presentation last night, it was kind of funny because it has armored glass, and they did a glass demonstration where they dropped this giant steel cue ball from like 20 feet up down onto the glass, and it didn't break. But then they walked over to the truck, and clearly the truck did not have the armored glass, and they just tossed the ball at the window twice, and it broke both windows. So that was pretty funny. The powertrain on this thing, though, is actually pretty interesting. It's a triple motor setup. It's all-wheel drive with 3 motors. Well, you have the option of 1 motor, 2 motors, or 3 motors. But it's a triple motor setup with a 500-mile range. You can see right there. And 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. So from that point of view, I'm like, all right, this thing is A, really fast, B, really strong, has a 14,000 pound towing capacity, I think. So we go here, you can select your specs. I'm going to go for the tri-motor, 500-mile range, 14,000 pound towing capacity with a 6.5 foot, they call it a vault. That's their way of calling it a bed, because I guess it's like an enclosed bed. Good approach angle, 35 degrees and 28 degree departure angle, so it can go over some pretty interesting terrain. You know, an interesting concept. I'm gonna call it a concept, but it's not really a concept. This thing's really coming through. But in typical Tesla fashion, they have put the cart before the horse, and I'm still calling it a concept because it's not out yet. We don't have any real world examples of it. I have a couple of friends that I know are gonna have it. Brooks, if you're watching from Drag Times, he's gonna have one for sure. I know he has to. And a couple of my other friends too already ordered them. They were showing it on Facebook. They had ordered them. So I'll be able to see one in real life if and when they do come out. But I'm still waiting to see that Roadster that they had a couple years ago. They announced this crazy 8-second quarter-mile electric car. Where's that? So still waiting to see that. Now, I can't imagine this truck taking any less time to be made. But back to the look of this thing. I mean, it looks like it's straight out of an 80s post-apocalyptic movie or some kind of future movie. If this was in Back to the Future 2, I'd believe it. You know? Blade Runner, I don't know, Tron, any of those future movies. This is what it would look like. Now, if you asked me last night what I thought of this thing, I would have immediately told you this was a joke and that they were going to roll out the real truck after presenting this at some point, but they never did. I'm still wondering if it's a joke to a certain extent, so I'm not holding my breath on this being the final design for this truck. Absolutely not. I think that Tesla as a company is capable of producing something a lot more, what's the word, real? So, but hey, if this is what they want to put out there, who am I? I'm no one compared to them, so that's just my opinion. Either way, I don't think I'll ever see myself in one of these, but maybe in the passenger seat at some point, especially if it's 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. That, to me, is an interesting performance spec. Cost on this thing is, let's go through the thing. If I hit order now, I think it'll come up with something. Cost on this thing right here, they're showing the order is being $39.9 for the base single motor rear wheel drive, all the way up to $69.9, so you can almost double your price when you go for the tri-motor all-wheel drive. In my opinion, if you get one of these and you don't get an all-wheel drive, what's the point? If you go for the dual motor, I think you're selling yourself short as well. That's where it's at, I think. Tri-motor. I mean, that price is realistically not outrageous. I mean, you're talking about some Ford and Chevy trucks that cost more than that. They have a self-driving option, which is $7,000 extra. Never been a fan of self-driving, but I understand the technology, so if you're gonna get the car, you might as well get that thing too. And yeah, so really cool. You can see the differences here. The base model is a 6.5 0 to 60, which is still not horrible. The Golf is faster, but whatever. Go for the dual motor and you're up to 4.5, and then of course the tri-motor for 2.9. Anyway, if you're getting one of these, or if you have an opinion about it, let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to know what you guys think of it. I'm not convinced. I really feel like this is not a polished, finished product. It looks hurried, it looks simple, and it looks unfinished. Maybe the marketing is just towards that, like I said, that crowd of people that watched, The Fifth Element and Back to the Future and those movies. Could be those people. Those people are now, they got the money to buy these things, so I guess it's a good move to target towards it. But the same company that's building this is also building those really nice, cool, futuristic design. I mean, come on. That's nice. That looks nice. That almost looks like a Porsche. And you go from that, I'm not saying you have to look like a Porsche, but I feel like a Porsche is a good design laurel or benchmark to gauge on, and that kind of looks like a Porsche. And you see these cars in person and they look really nice. That truck though, I don't know, man. I just don't know. So here's the Roadster also. Just this car has been, let's see, bring it up. There's the Roadster. See, I mean, like, you're talking about this car. That's what we're talking about. 1.9, 250 miles an hour, 620 mile range. But when's it happening? Come on, Tesla. I want to see this thing. I don't want to see this boxy freaking Tron mobile. We'll see you guys in the next one. Back to the Future.